Today, we are diving into an emotional journey that explores the powerful themes of love, betrayal, and the resilience of the human spirit. Our story revolves around a man named Noah, who found himself ensnared in a relationship that began as a beautiful adventure, but eventually transformed into a labyrinth of pain and disillusionment. As we traverse through the intricate details of Noah's life with Chloe, we will witness the gradual transformation of love into heartbreak, and how one man's struggle against despair ultimately leads to a powerful revival. Let us begin at the tranquil setting of a suburban home just outside Portland, Oregon. Here we find Noah, a 32-year-old software engineer. He thrives in the coziest of spaces. The rhythmic tapping of his keyboard dances alongside the gentle sound of a brewing coffee pot, a daily ritual that not only fuels his productivity, but enkindles cherished moments with his spouse, Chloe. Chloe, at 29 years old, is a talented freelance graphic designer. Her artistic passion pulsates through their home like vibrant colors on a canvas. Together, they have spent nearly a decade intertwined, 6 of those years sealed with the promise of marriage. As we step into their lives, we feel the deep-rooted aspirations they share. Chloe's artistry is not merely a career, but the very essence of her being. Noah admires her creativity, often encouraging her to pursue her dreams, even when the financial reality of their relationship begins to strain under the weight of Chloe's impulsive spending on art supplies and workshops. With incremental purchases that began as innocent investments in her passion slowly escalating into an anxiety-inducing financial burden, Noah grapples with the daunting uncertainty of their future. Despite their challenges, Noah holds on to the belief that love is steadfast and unwavering. After all, Chloe held the promise of forever in her eyes the day they tied the knot. He recalls late-night conversations filled with dreams of starting a family, discussing potential names for their future children, while envisioning their lives painted in the colors of joy and laughter. Yet glimmers of unease begin to seep into his heart. Chloe's dismissal of his feedback, whether regarding her work or their life choices, becomes a dark cloud over their seemingly idyllic life. Each time he expresses concern over her spending habits or the flirtatious messages he discovers in her social media accounts, she brushes him off, insisting he misinterprets her intentions as merely being friendly or networking for her art. Noah's heart aches, torn between love and doubt, feeling trapped in a web of loyalty blinded by affection. As the weeks roll into months, an unsettling rhythm sets in. Daily video calls become fewer and further between. When Chloe visits her sister in Seattle, Noah senses a void stretching across the miles, a deafening silence that fills spaces once filled with laughter and warmth. Just days after celebrating their 6-year anniversary, a video call brings all his fears crashing to the surface. The pixelated screen flickers and freezes, Chloe's voice dull and void of life, accusing him of stifling her creativity, asserting that he has changed and no longer desires to be a father. The jagged noise of their connection dissolves into static as she demands he vacate the home they once shared. Overwhelmed by a whirlwind of emotions, Noah feels a deep betrayal that slices through the heart of their relationship. The past few days transform into an agonizing blur filled with threatening messages and manipulative accusations as Chloe further entangles him in her chaos. Just as the reality of their disconnection sets in, Noah stumbles upon an old tablet belonging to Chloe, a digital Pandora's box that reveals a history of flirtatious messages and explicit chats, painting a chilling picture of her secretive online escapades. It becomes painfully clear, Chloe's emotional unfaithfulness runs deeper than he imagined. The shocking revelations propel Noah on a roller coaster of indignation and despair. He repositions his life as the foundation of their marriage crumbles around him. With a supportive friend standing beside him, Noah swiftly initiates legal separation, but the emotional scars run deep. Chloe ramps up her psychological manipulations, her apparent lack of remorse morphing into a weapon of choice. In a final act of devastation, Noah is forced to rehome Rusty, his elderly beagle who served as a steadfast companion during the most turbulent moments of their marriage. As the realization sets in that he must sever ties with Chloe, Noah feels the weight of anger settle in his chest. Everything that once felt secure shatters, leaving him with a fierce determination to reclaim his identity. In the echoing silence of their memories, he begins the arduous journey of navigating the choppy waters of heartbreak and regaining a sense of control over a life that spiraled beyond his grasp. The unfolding story of Noah is one of profound trials, an exploration of the aftermath of betrayal and the captivating journey of self-discovery. Join us as we uncover the remnants of Noah's past and witness the emergence of resilience forged through pain, a revival ignited within the ashes of lost love. Noah and Chloe's seemingly unbreakable bond shattered just a week after they celebrated their 6-year wedding anniversary. The anticipation of a rekindled connection during Chloe's trip to visit her sister in Seattle quickly devolved into anxiety. Their once comforting daily video calls faded into sporadic chats filled with increasing tension, gradually transforming into stark silence. Noah could feel an icy premonition creeping in, foretelling the storm to come. His suspicions were confirmed when only days later, he received the dreaded breakup call. He stared at the screen, heart pounding, as Chloe's figure flickered through the static, her voice flat and devoid of warmth. "Noah, you are holding me back from my true creative self," she declared. Her accusations spiraled, claiming he was the one who never truly wanted a family and painting him as the oppressive partner. Each word felt like a jagged dagger, twisting deeper into his heart and shattering hopes they had built together over nearly a decade. "Vacate the house immediately," she demanded, her words drenched in a chilling finality that clawed at his insides. Those simple words marked the end of a love he believed would last a lifetime. As their connection frayed, Noah was thrust into a whirlwind, a flurry of manipulative texts and terse phone calls punctuated by tears yet driven by Chloe's sharp tongue, suggesting he was the one at fault. In the tumultuous aftermath, he stumbled upon a forgotten tablet in their home, a relic of time spent together. Returning to the room, he hesitated, a sinking feeling in his gut. What he found left him breathless and reeling. Messages long deleted unveiled a sordid story, a gallery of flirtations with strangers, revealing Chloe as someone he hardly recognized. Messages filled with flirtation, pathways to online affairs, and unapologetic remarks about her new lifestyle clashed with the image of the partner he had trusted. Struggling with the full weight of this betrayal, he felt a suffocating wave of emotions crashing over him. Betrayal morphed into furious indignation, tainted by the overwhelming grief for the love he once held dear. It became increasingly evident that Chloe was entangled in a web of deceit, wrapped tightly around her own self-obsessions. Each new revelation proved more horrifying than the last, urging Noah to secure a legal separation while the wounds were still fresh. With the support of his brother and understanding friends, Noah was thrust into a legal labyrinth, navigating the separation process. It became painfully visible that Chloe found pleasure in rubbing salt into his open wounds, boasting to their mutual friends about her online conquests. A twisted power play, designed to maintain control and superiority in a world she had just toppled. As Noah faced the devastation head-on, he felt overwhelmed by a surge of emotions, pain morphing into anger that fed a relentless fire deep within him. He began considering every tip of advice he had received about emotional healing but could not rid his mind of Chloe's laughter disintegrating their shared dreams. Yet, despite the heaviness of betrayal, Noah clutched at a thread of resilience. He began to dissect his emotions, scrutinizing from every angle for weaknesses. Distraught but resolute, he initiated small changes, pivoting with a determination to reclaim his life. Joining a local climbing gym and embarking on daily meditative walks along the serene riverbanks outside Portland, he sought solace and a reconnecting sense of self. However, the storm was not over yet. Days later, as he blocked Chloe on all social media platforms in a bid for peace, a tattered email landed in his inbox. It was a cease and desist letter from an unknown sender, riddled with typing errors and grammatical chaos, attempting to intimidate him into silence regarding their tumultuous split. Despite the absurdity of it all, the emotional burden intensified. It spoke volumes about Chloe's desperate need for control, even as their lives crumbled apart. As Noah grappled with the surreal nature of his situation, he couldn't help but wonder how deeply intertwined their lives had become in a swirl of chaos and heartbreak. The love story he had invested years in had morphed into an emotional nightmare, echoing with haunting memories and clashes of unmet expectations. He felt himself drifting further from the man he once knew, the free-spirited dreamer who had a plan for the future, now ensnared in painful memories and bitterness. But amidst the shadows, a flicker of strength emerged, a resolve to navigate this uncharted territory of his new reality, ignited by the ember of hope that change and growth would ultimately follow the painful unraveling of his life with Chloe. As he continued his alone-time journey, Noah began to construct a plan for reclaiming not just his heart, but his entire existence, ensuring that one day soon he would emerge from these ashes, stronger and more authentic than ever before. The aftermath of heartbreak would mark his new beginning, and while the road ahead appeared daunting, Noah took the first step in reclaiming his identity. It was a necessary shift, the first of many that would set him on a path from devastation towards an evolving sense of renewal. He knew the road ahead would be rocky, but embracing the unknown would guide him in healing his heart. Following the tumultuous breakup with Chloe, Noah found himself enveloped in a storm of grief and anger, a cacophony of emotions that left him feeling isolated. The sudden vacuum in his life felt unbearable, and as he faced the remnants of what used to be, Noah realized that the only way forward would require confronting the bitter truth of his situation head-on. Betrayal had sliced through the fabric of their relationship, and the ramifications weighed heavily upon his heart. Yet amidst this emotional turmoil, a flicker of determination began to take root. In an attempt to reclaim his life, Noah established a rigorous routine that would ultimately serve as a lifeline. He joined a local climbing gym, seeking both physical challenge and a way to channel his anger into something more constructive. Each ascent became symbolic, a metaphor for confronting the mountains of grief and restoring his sense of self. The adrenaline of overcoming obstacles reminded him that he was alive and capable. It was not just about building strength, it was about reclaiming the pieces of himself that had been eclipsed by doubt and uncertainty. Moreover, he took to long walks along the serene riverbanks just outside Portland. The rhythm of his footsteps against the earth provided a meditative sanctuary, a chance to engage with nature and find clarity amidst the chaos. The river, ever-flowing, symbolized resilience, life's constant ebb and flow, a reminder that both joy and pain are part of the human experience. With each step, he shed fragments of hurt, allowing the gentle breeze to whisk away remnants of Chloe's memory. As days passed and Noah attempted to block out Chloe from his thoughts and digital life, he received an unexpected email that tested the newfound resolve he was working so hard to maintain. A poorly worded cease and desist letter, riddled with grammatical errors and sent from an obscure Hotmail address, landed in his inbox. Annoyance flared within him. The letter attempted to intimidate him into silence regarding their separation, hinting at consequences if he spoke about her actions. Noah could not help but notice how absurdly desperate this maneuver felt, especially considering their history. Instead of succumbing to the emotional burden it attempted to impose, he chose to archive the email, a small act of defiance against the chaos she sought to perpetuate. Despite his attempts to move forward, Chloe's manipulative behavior lingered, seeping into the corners of his life like an unwelcome shadow. Noah soon discovered that she had begun reaching out to Sarah, a trusted colleague who had adopted Rusty, their beloved beagle, after he had reluctantly rehomed him. These messages were steeped in feigned concern for a dog she had long neglected. The juxtaposition between her newfound interest and her previous indifference toward Rusty angered Noah. It felt deeply hypocritical, an opportunistic attempt to maintain control over a situation she had already disrupted. In moments of contemplation, Noah began to analyze Chloe not just as a partner lost, but also as a reflection of deeper truths. Truths about the fragility of love, the consequences of unchecked emotional instability, and the excessive weights carried when confronted with someone incapable of taking accountability. He discerned patterns in her behavior, leading him to consider whether she might be grappling with something far more complex, perhaps even beyond her understanding. At one moment, as he observed deepening shifts in Chloe's life through social media snapshots, he noted the signs of instability that marked her new existence. Her rapid associations with unstable online acquaintances, as he privately dubbed them, hinted at an ongoing struggle for identity, a desperate grasp at validation in a world she could no longer control. Yet gazing into this mirror was a double-edged sword. It allowed a flicker of empathy for the person she had become, but reinforced his resolve to never again become entwined with someone who embodied such emotional chaos. Noah discovered through these reflections an opportunity for growth, a chance to shift his focus from the hurt of the past to the freedoms of the present. He began reaching out to friends, rebuilding relationships that had frayed during his time with Chloe. Their support was invaluable, a balm for his wounded spirit. He felt surrounded by a network of love that reminded him there is strength in vulnerability, and healing often comes from authentic connection with others. One day, while walking along the banks of the river, a thought struck him like lightning. He wanted to write. He had always found solace in expressing his emotions through words, and now more than ever he needed an outlet to articulate the turmoil of his heart. This realization ignited a newfound sense of purpose. As he explored the idea of writing, Noah felt a profound shift within himself, the understanding that he could transform his pain into creativity. Once home, he sat down at his desk, fingers poised above the keyboard, ready to chronicle his experiences in an attempt to not just find clarity, but to reconnect with the dreams and aspirations he had set aside during his tumultuous marriage. Yet, as he embarked on this personal journey of healing, Chloe's presence still occasionally stomped on his emotional bandages. The hollowness of betrayal, a stark contrast to the tapestry of love he had envisioned, lingered in the background. But Noah began to realize that acknowledging his pain, documenting his process, and discussing the lessons he was learning would ultimately empower him. Each word he wrote became cathartic, an affirmation that reclamation would come from facing the raw truth of his ordeal. Navigating this aftermath would not prove simple, but Noah stood firmly in the landscape of his growing resolve. It was now evident that these steps were not just towards rebuilding, they were also a journey of rediscovery. Each emotionally charged chapter he penned became a testament to his resilience, his belief in love, and ultimately his commitment to embrace a life that honored his true self. As we move into the next chapter, filled with potential change and new connections, Noah's story illuminates the path from heartbreak to personal strength. In every word he writes, there lies a renewed hope, a reminder that while pain is inevitable, growth is a choice. It is a journey toward understanding that healing begins not just within, but in the connections forged during one's darkest hours. Chloe's relentless attempts to maintain control felt like waves crashing against Noah's newfound stability. Shortly after their separation, her messages began flooding in, and they were not merely casual inquiries. Chloe demanded that he return her expensive art supplies, most notably digital drawing tablets that he had gifted her during their relationship. Each message dripped with entitlement, as if she believed he owed her an apt compensation for the emotional upheaval she had unleashed. The audacity of her demands incensed Noah. He could not fathom how she could possibly feel justified in requesting items that had been forged during a time when their love had manifested itself in shared passion and support. In addition to her material requests, Chloe's next move leaned toward the absurd. She instructed Noah to move various boxes of her belongings that were cluttering their shared home, despite the fact that she had kicked him out of that home just days prior. Consciously or unconsciously, it felt as though she was engaging in a power play, attempting to keep him tethered to both memories and obligations that had fractured beneath their recent turmoil. Noah sensed her need to exert control over him had only intensified, and it motivated him to fortify his resolve to liberate himself from her grasp. To add insult to injury, Chloe began to flaunt her new relationships all over social media, posting snippets and images that showcased her newfound freedom. Each photo served as a reminder that she was moving on, while he was left in the shadows of their past. The emotional betrayal felt like a fresh wound reopening. Each time he scrolled through the messages and photos, he was left grappling with feelings of inadequacy and jealousy, not just regarding Chloe's newfound encounters, but concerning his own sense of direction and self-worth. The realization that someone who proclaimed so passionately to love him had severed ties so readily was both jarring and infuriating. Noah's spirit began to rise in defiance, wanting to take ownership of his narrative. During this tumultuous period, he turned to mutual friends from their old online gaming group in search of clarity. It was through these conversations that he discovered Chloe was indeed in a new, serious relationship, a stark contradiction to her earlier claims that their split was a necessary measure for her mental well-being. This revelation hit Noah like a thunderclap. It felt as if a shroud had been lifted, revealing the final lie. The picture of her sincere struggle was nothing more than a facade designed to mask her desire for freedom from their relationship, and Noah could see it all too clearly. In grappling with her uncontested manipulations, Noah began to analyze her behavior through a more critical lens. He suspected that Chloe might be wrestling with mental health issues, potentially manifesting as traits of borderline personality disorder. Observing her patterns, the erratic outbursts, her seemingly desperate needs for constant validation and destructive habits suggested that her emotional instability had propelled their relationship to the precipice. It was a troubling realization, acknowledging that her manipulations and disregard for his emotional needs were likely symptomatic rather than just malevolent behavior. Yet even as empathy for Chloe flickered within him, it was overshadowed by the personal turmoil she had inflicted and the relentless reminder of her transgressions. Noah found himself confronting both compassion and anger in equal measure, and navigating this emotional minefield required immense strength. He reminded himself that he was not responsible for Chloe's mental health, and that he had every right to seek peace and healing after the upheaval she had brought into his life. This period of reflection came with not just hard truths about Chloe, but also the fortitude to stand against her persistent manipulations. Noah began to view each text from her as an opportunity to reclaim his power. Her words were no longer shackles holding him back. Instead, they became reminders of the necessity to maintain distance if he were to heal. He sought support amongst his close friends, sharing experiences and allowing their compassion to bolster his resolve, a network that kept him grounded and reminded him of his worth. Despite Chloe's attempts to draw him back into her chaotic orbit, Noah's determination to sever ties only intensified. Each act of defiance, whether ignoring her demands, blocking her on social media, or establishing firm boundaries, became cathartic, allowing him to reclaim control over his own narrative and life choices. In recognizing her holes in accountability and the severe impact of her manipulative ways, Noah transformed his sorrow into a catalyst for change. There would be no more falling into the traps she had laid for him. He would chart his own path, guided by the strength he had developed amid the wreckage. The anger had morphed into a hopeful fire, pushing him towards healing and, unbeknownst to Chloe, towards a resilient new life that awaited him beyond their shared past. As we continue on Noah's journey, we will witness how he channels this resolve towards something profound, into newfound connections that begin to reconstruct his life, illuminating a powerful path toward healing and renewal. One brisk afternoon in early spring, Noah found himself standing at the entrance of a local hiking club he had stumbled upon online. Nature had always been an escape for him, a place where he could clear his mind, but the thought of joining a group felt simultaneously thrilling and intimidating. Would his past relationship haunt him even here among strangers? He hesitated at first, resuming his internal dialogue, but in a moment of determination he stepped in, driven by the need to take control of his own narrative. As he mingled with fellow outdoor enthusiasts, he was surprised by the warmth radiating from the group. Among them he met Maya, a thoughtful landscape architect with a palpable zest for life. Their conversations felt like a breath of fresh air, filled with laughter, curiosity, and mutual understanding. United by a shared love for the outdoors, they found themselves deep in conversation about their favorite trails and the beauty of the surrounding nature. As the days turned into weeks, Noah and Maya began to form a connection that transcended the mere surface level of companionship. In Maya, Noah discovered something profoundly different. Where Chloe's world had always felt chaotic and erratic, Maya's presence brought a sense of calm and groundedness that he had not realized how desperately he craved. One afternoon, while perched on a sun-drenched rock overlooking a glorious vista, they shared stories of their lives. Noah found himself recounting his journey, his love for technology, the heartbreak of his recent divorce, and the heartbreaking decision to give Rusty away. To his surprise, he did not feel the weight of shame as he shared his truth. Instead, he sensed only compassion and understanding emanating from Maya. She listened intently and offered words of support that made him feel safe. Change is never easy, is it? Maya reflected, her voice soothing like a gentle stream. But it can lead to something beautiful if we allow ourselves to embrace it. Her words struck a chord in Noah. This was not just a new chapter for him. It was an opportunity to redefine what happiness could look like. With Maya, he felt encouraged to explore and understand his feelings, to be vulnerable without the fear of judgment. This invitation to transparency was refreshing. It was in those raw moments that he realized how healing companionship could be. As the connection between them blossomed, Noah found himself opening up to new experiences. Maya invited him on art walks through Portland's eclectic neighborhoods, where they discovered street art that sparked conversation and creativity. He attended gardening courses with her, where they planted herbs that would soon flourish, further nourishing not just their food but also their connection. 4 months after they started dating, Noah gazed at Maya one evening, the glow of candlelight reflecting softly against the smile that graced her face. The words formed in his mind, and he felt ready to express the gratitude he had for this newfound relationship. "Thank you for being part of my journey. You helped me see all the beauty this world has to offer, even after everything I have been through," he said earnestly. Maya's smile widened, and the sincerity in Noah's eyes mirrored her own sense of understanding. "You deserve this, Noah. We all have scars from our past, but they also remind us of our strength and our resilience. Your story deserves to continue unfolding into something incredible." It was moments like these when Noah understood healing was not merely about recovering from pain. Instead, it was about rediscovering oneself amid life's chaos with light guiding the way. Although Chloe remained a lingering thought in his past, Noah no longer felt bound by her shadow. He had garnered strength from his experiences, transforming the hurt into authentic growth and acceptance. As the sun dipped below the horizon that evening, sending a cascade of golden hues flooding the sky, Noah felt a profound sense of peace enveloping him. With Maya by his side, he was ready to embrace the future, a future filled with hope, love, and the promise of new beginnings. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Noah's emotional evolution. If you found his story relatable or inspiring, do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Life can be unpredictable, but every ending is also a new beginning. You never know whose story you may influence just by sharing yours. Until next time, take care. And remember, healing is a beautiful journey worth embracing. Peace.